Hello and welcome to a tutorial on how to get um, Auto Splitter to work on your Super Nintendo Classic, SNES Classic. Um, this is specific to getting Super Metroid splits to work, but you should be able to cater this to other games. So first thing you are going to need is a bunch of tools, some software, stuff like that. And I'll reference a lot of things in this tutorial, and I'll put all those links down in the description below, so you'll know where to get all the things that you'll need. So first, if you do not have um, your SNES Classic modded or hacked, as it's called, using Hakchi, you'll need to do that first. And I will put a awesome tutorial, a link to a nice tutorial in order to do that in the description below. So once you have your Super Nintendo Classic hacked using Hakchi, um, you're going to want to also have the latest version of LiveSplit, which I'll put in the description down there. You're going to want to have the latest version of what is essentially the software that's going to communicate between your PC and your SNES Classic. It's called QUSB2 SNES. You'll need the latest version of that, which will be in the description below. Um, and that is pretty much going to be the main things you'll need. You might need a program to extract .7z files because the QUSB2 SNES like packaged file is one of those. So if you don't have 7-zip or something, you'll need to get 7-zip. I can put that in the description below as well. And finally, you'll need the auto splitter itself, so you can place that component into LiveSplit. So once you have looked down and make sure you have everything that you need, so you've modded your SNES Classic, you've got the latest version of all that software we just talked about, then you are ready to start the process. So let's get going. Um, Step one is obviously to install all the software. You don't have to run anything, just install it and know where you installed it because you will need to access those folders um, during this tutorial and just in general. So you've modded your SNES Classic, and now what we want to do is install the um, what what's called the serverstuff.hmod file um, into where it needs to go. So what you'll need to do for that is first find your uh, serverstuff.hmod file, which is inside your QUSB2 SNES. So wherever you installed that, go inside that folder. And you'll notice it'll look something like this. And way down here at the bottom, you have your serverstuff.hmod file. So you're just going to get that, copy this file, Control C, or just right click, copy. And then once you've got that file copied, you're going to want to go to your Documents folder. And inside your Documents folder, you should have a Hakchi2 folder. And then inside that, you should see a user mods folder. And then you'll just paste, like I've already done here, the serverstuff.hmod file inside of that user mods folder. Just something to be aware of. The Hakchi program, the folder itself, the one that's where you installed Hakchi, also has a user mods folder. That is not the correct one. You want to go to your Documents, Hakchi2, User Mods, not the user mod folder that's found inside of wherever you installed Hakchi2. It's kind of confusing, but just know that it's Documents. It's the Documents Hakchi user mods that you want. So we paste that in the server stuff hmod in here. And then once that's pasted in there, Hakchi will be able to recognize that it has an available. So this is if you've opened Hakchi and you've modded your stuff, you know what this program looks like. So if you go up to modules, install extra modules, if you scroll down to this unknown section, because it's a scary unknown thing, it doesn't know what this is because we just smacked it into the user mods folder. And you can see it says server stuff, just like our file, serverstuff.hmod. So you would just come down here and you would check this checkbox and you would hit OK and it would install it for you. I've already installed it, which is probably why this text is grayed out instead of black like this other stuff. So I'm not going to install it because I've already done it. But what you would do is check this checkbox, hit OK, and it should take a couple of seconds to install that to your SNES Classic. As long as you're connected as it's shown with the little green light down here saying, hey, yep, we're connected to your SNES Classic, it will be able to install that module through that process. So once you have that installed to your SNES Classic, and but basically that is the portion that we are going to have on the SNES Classic that will be able to talk to your computer and know when to auto split and whatnot through that Q USB to SNES program. So at this point, uh, we've installed our server stuff onto the SNES Classic, um, and we have installed Q USB to SNES. What we want to do at this point is um, run Q USB to SNES. So wherever you installed the exe file um, inside right here, this QUSB to SNES exe, that's the one you want. You can create a shortcut to that or whatever, but you run this program, and once you run that program, it's not going to pop up a window. Well, if you're running it for the first time, it will pop up a window asking you what you want to kind of use QSB to SNES for. Um, and since I've already run it on my machine, I won't be able to show you that window. But basically, it's asking you, do you want to use this for a SNES Classic? Do you want to use this for an emulator? Do you want to use this for different stuff? So basically, you want to turn, oh, hello, Samus. You want to turn on the SNES Classic support. It'll say something like experimental at this point with the version, but you want to select that. And basically what that will do, once you select that, you say OK, the window should go away and you should have um, something in your system tray that will look like, I believe it's this little My Little Pony icon. Um, and if you right click on there, you'll see, obviously this is your QUSB to SNES program. What you want to look for at this point is this devices. If you hover over devices, you'll see down here um, the different things that you want to enable. So this enable SNES Classic Support Experimental should have a little like blue box around it. It should be enabled. So if you don't have this kind of little blue box here, then it's not enabled. You would just click it, and that would enable it for you. You'll know if you have it enabled because it will give you some sort of SNES Classic message here saying the status of its communication with the SNES Classic. Right now, I have my SNES Classic on, but I don't have it running any games. It's just on that main menu where you would choose what game you want to play. And so that's why it says, hey, the SNES Classic is on, but the emulator that runs the games is not running, which is cool. That's perfectly fine. That is exactly what's going on right now. So what I'm going to do, just to show you what this will change to, is I'm going to off screen. You can't see this, but I'm just going to start Super Metroid. We're going to give um, the Q USB to SNES program a couple of seconds to recognize, oh, something's changed. He started the game. So if you just hover over something else and then go back to devices, um, so you'll see it just still says it's not running, which is fine. I like to give it a second. Okay, boom. Now it says SNES Classic, no client connected. This is the message you want. Now, every now and then you'll get something different. You might get something that says, "Hey, we can't find memory locations. Try restarting the game." Just fine. Just restart the game and wait, just like we did just now. And then you should eventually get this no client connected message. Another thing that can happen is if you have a super early version of the SNES Classic, the emulator, the Canoe emulator version will not be updated, the firmware, to 2.0.14, which is what you need for QUSB to SNES to work properly. So it might give you an error message saying, hey, your firmware isn't updated to 2.0.14, and you'll have to do that as well. I am in the process of figuring out the best way to go about updating firmware, because this is kind of a new thing that I've discovered you can run into. I believe you can do it with Hakchi, but I'll put an update in the description, and once I figure that out for sure. But it is something that you should be able to get around just to update your firmware. And there's other sources online as well. If you look into how to go about doing that, that should be helpful. If I haven't put an update in the description. So we've gotten to our, hey, no client connected. It's exactly where we want to be. So at this point, we now need our live split. We want to open live split and apply our auto splitter into live split. So let us do that. Now, what you'll need to do is place the auto splitter, which you've already downloaded and you know where it is, right, into live split. So wherever you've downloaded live split, before you launch live split, you go inside the folder, and inside the folder there's a components folder. You open that up and you paste your auto splitter. This is what it should be called, the USB to SNES splitter. And you just plop it right in here, this DLL file that you got from when you downloaded everything at the beginning of this. You just paste it in there, and then once that's good to go, you would open up live split. So this is just an example of one of my layouts that I want to now have auto splits, so I don't have to hit the spacebar every time, and I get consistent, um, to the milliseconds. So what we want to do in order to add that to these splits is you come down here and you say, hey, edit my layout. All right, these are all our components, or my components that I currently have here. We want to add the auto splitter as another component. So we will go up to this, it's add, and auto splitter is under control. And now you'll see I have this here. You wouldn't normally have this if you didn't paste that DLL file that we just did. So now you have this, you say boom, I want this auto splitter. Now you'll notice this little red line has popped up. That is a kind of visual representation of the fact that you have an auto splitter on your splits now. It's red because it has not fully made a connection and said I'm good to go. When it's good to go, it will turn green. When it's like in the process of trying to get a connection, It'll be like a yellow or an orange, but it's red right now because we haven't set up the settings for the auto splitter. So in order to do that, we're going to go down to layout settings. We're going to open up layout settings, and you'll see all these tabs up here, and right at the end we have the auto splitter settings. So we're going to click that, and we need to input the device, which will be our SNES Classic, and the config file, which is that .json that we downloaded at the beginning with all of the software. Um, so if your QUSB to SNES is talking to your SNES Classic correctly, you should be able to select this auto detect button, and boom, it'll just pop that SNES Classic right in there. You won't have to type it in or worry about any like misspellings or anything like that. You just say auto detect, and it says, oh yep, we're talking to your SNES Classic. I know exactly what you want. Here you go. Now we need that Super Metroid JSON file right here that has all of your information. Um, we need to find that. So we're going to hit that little ellipses. We need to find the file that we want. Here's mine. Just going to double click it, and boom. We have this. And if you'll notice, that little red bar has now turned to a green bar because it's recognized our file that has our split information. It's recognized our device. Everything is good to go. Now, just for reference, if you paste your JSON file in here and you have not set it up to match your splits, like word for word, the way you call them in your JSON file is the way you should be calling them in your splits in live split. If that is not the case, let me show you what that looks like. So here's my JSON file. Um, right now we're looking at GT Classic. So I go down to GT Classic and I say, hey, instead of calling this Ridley or bombs, I'm going to call this explody things. And if I save that, you're going to get, oh, you can't save it because it's being used by another process, which is probably live split. um, so I want to show you this error. Okay, yes, empty path is not helpful. Can we save this now? Okay, so we've saved that. So now, if we paste this back in, you'll get some error messages here. Has missing definitions because explodey things does not match any. If you look over here, does not match any of the things in the definitions down here. There's nothing called explodey things. There's only something called bombs. So you need to make sure that you're naming the things the way they should be named inside of this JSON file. Now, you might say, well, that's kind of lame. I might want to call my bombs explodey things in my splits. Well, you totally can. You just need to make sure you set up this alias section. You'll notice I name stuff differently. The ship I call deuces. That you can name things differently. You just have to tell the JSON file, hey, when I say morph in my splits, what I really mean is morphing ball, and it will say, oh, okay. Well, I know exactly this on the definitions down here, morphing ball is down here, so I know what you mean because you told me what that is. So you might take some finagling, but the things over here should recognize this little error message, should kind of tell you what you're doing wrong, if anything. So now that I've changed it back to bombs and I've saved it, you go back up here, no more error message. We're all good to go. We got our green line again. Bada bing, bada boom. So we'll just click OK. We'll click OK. We've got our auto splitter on our splits. It's showing as green. If we go back to the system tray. If I can get there, yeah. We go back to the system tray, and we go over here to devices. It now doesn't say no client connected. Now it shows, hey, we're connected to live split auto splitter. And that's your end goal. That's what you want to get to. And now, as soon as you start the game, let's see if I can get this to be displayed just to round this out here. Do I have SNES Classic? Okay, so let's get you. Okay, so now if everything works correctly, what you should see is that if I decide to hit start game right here, it should recognize that, okay, it's starting their splits, hit start game, and boom. I didn't hit the space bar, I didn't do anything. I just started the game, and I'm doing very bad falling down the elevator shaft, but you can see the timer's already going, and it's already auto split for me, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and all things are great. So yeah, that is basically the gist of this entire process. It took me a lot of troubleshooting to get it, which is why I wanted to make a tutorial in the first place for anybody else trying to get this thing to work. So if there are any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them. You'll probably better reach me in the SRL Super Metroid Discord. It's probably a better way to do that since I'm not really actively on YouTube a whole lot, but I'll try to get to any questions that happen to pop up. Um, Otherwise, yeah, happy auto splitting and speed runs and whatnot, and I guess that's about it. I was gonna show you this more split, but it's gonna take me at least a couple minutes to get there, so we'll just cut it here, and I'll die on Serious Station because that's how it's gonna go. All right, peace.